I remember the moment I proposed to Amanda, as if it were yesterday. We sat across from each other at that fancy Italian restaurant in downtown Chicago, candlelight dancing across her beautiful face. After 3 years of dating, I was finally ready to make her mine forever. The ring box felt heavy in my pocket all evening, until I finally dropped to one knee. Her eyes filled with tears as she said yes. Life felt perfect then. I had no idea that expensive diamond would return to my hand in the most painful way possible. Let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like button if you have ever been betrayed by someone you loved the most. I work as a software engineer at a tech company in Chicago. My apartment downtown is not huge, but I am proud of it. I purchased it using money I had been saving since my first job out of college. The city views from my balcony always gave me a sense of accomplishment, especially on clear summer nights when the skyline lit up like a postcard. It was during a product launch event for our company where I first met Amanda. She worked in the marketing department for a partner business, and she was helping coordinate the press coverage for our new software platform. I noticed her immediately across the crowded event space. She had this infectious laugh that carried above the ambient chatter, and I found myself gravitating toward her without even realizing it. "This appetizer tastes like cardboard covered in fancy sauce," she whispered to me when we ended up next to each other at the buffet table. I laughed, surprised by her honesty. "I thought I was the only one who noticed," I replied, and just like that we clicked. Amanda was everything I had been looking for in a partner. She was beautiful with her long auburn hair and bright green eyes, but it was her intelligence and wit that truly captured my attention. She could talk about marketing strategies one minute and switch to discussing obscure sci-fi novels the next. Our conversations never felt forced or awkward. Our first date happened at a small coffee shop near Millennium Park. What was supposed to be a quick coffee turned into a 5-hour conversation. We talked about everything from our childhood dreams to our career aspirations. I learned that she grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, loved dogs, but was allergic to cats, and secretly wanted to write a novel someday. By the time we realized how long we had been talking, the coffee shop was about to close. "I guess time flies when you are having fun," she said with a smile that made my heart skip. Over the next 3 years, our relationship grew stronger and deeper. Amanda gradually began moving her things into my apartment. First, it was just a toothbrush and some clothes for the occasional sleepover. Then a few books appeared on my shelves. Before I knew it, her coffee maker replaced mine because she insisted it made better espresso, and her decorative pillows found their way onto my once plain couch. I never complained. Each item made my apartment feel more like a home. We traveled together whenever we could. A long weekend in New York to see Broadway shows. A summer trip driving up the California coast. Winter skiing in Colorado, where I embarrassingly fell multiple times, while Amanda gracefully navigated the slopes, like she was born with skis attached to her feet. My parents loved Amanda from the first time I brought her home for Thanksgiving. My mother immediately pulled out the family photo albums, much to my horror, and Amanda sat for hours looking through pictures of my awkward teenage years. My father, normally reserved with strangers, engaged her in lengthy conversations about politics and history. My younger sister, Sarah, formed an instant bond with Amanda, texting her regularly even when we returned to Chicago. Meeting Amanda's family was equally pleasant. Her parents owned a charming house on a lake in Wisconsin. Her father, a high school principal, tested me with subtle questions about my intentions with his daughter, while her mother kept bringing out more food than any human could possibly consume in one sitting. By the end of the weekend, her father was showing me his prized fishing boat, and I knew I had passed whatever test he had set for me. After 3 years together, I knew Amanda was the one I wanted to spend my life with. I started saving for an engagement ring, setting aside money from each paycheck. This went on for 8 months, until I had enough for the perfect diamond. I wanted something special, something that would make her eyes light up. Sarah came with me to help choose the ring. "She will love this one," my sister said, pointing to a stunning 2-carat diamond in a platinum setting. "It is elegant but not flashy, just like her." The price made me wince, but seeing the ring sparkle under the jewelry store lights, I knew Sarah was right. The night I proposed, I made reservations at Bella Notte, an upscale Italian restaurant where we had celebrated our first anniversary. I was so nervous that I barely tasted the expensive meal in front of me. The ring box felt like it weighed 100 pounds in my jacket pocket. After dessert, I finally gathered my courage and got down on one knee beside our table. The entire restaurant went quiet. Amanda, these past 3 years have been the happiest of my life. You make me laugh, you challenge me to be better, and you fill my days with joy. I cannot imagine my future without you in it. Will you marry me? Time seemed to stop as I waited for her answer. Then, with tears in her eyes, she whispered, "Yes, Jonathon. Yes, I will marry you." The restaurant erupted in applause as I slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, like it was always meant to be there. We spent the rest of the evening calling our families and closest friends to share the good news. My parents were ecstatic. Sarah screamed so loudly over the phone that I had to hold it away from my ear. Amanda's parents immediately started discussing potential wedding venues in Wisconsin. That night, as we lay in bed with Amanda admiring how the ring caught the light from every angle, I felt like the luckiest man alive. I had no idea that everything was about to change. The shift in our relationship happened so gradually that at first I barely noticed. It started with small things. Amanda began working late, more often missing our usual dinner times together. When I texted to ask when she would be home, her replies came hours later with brief excuses about deadlines and meetings running long. "Sorry, babe, crazy day at work. Do not wait up. I will grab something with the team." These messages became increasingly common. When she did come home, she was constantly on her phone, quickly turning the screen away when I approached. If I asked who she was texting, she would say, "Just work stuff," or "Nothing important," with a dismissive wave. Around the 2-month mark after our engagement, Amanda started mentioning a new colleague named Trevor during our conversations. Trevor from marketing had great ideas for the new campaign. Trevor suggested this amazing restaurant for client meetings. Trevor thought her presentation was brilliant. Trevor this. Trevor that became a regular feature in our increasingly brief conversations. I tried not to think too much about it. After all, they were just colleagues, and Amanda had always been friendly with her coworkers. Our physical relationship changed too. Amanda began finding excuses to avoid intimacy. She was too tired, had a headache, needed to prepare for an early meeting, or had just remembered an urgent email she needed to send. The warmth and passion that had defined our relationship for 3 years cooled noticeably. Despite these warning signs, I convinced myself everything was fine. Planning a wedding was stressful, and Amanda had mentioned her workload had increased significantly. Maybe she was just going through a phase, or feeling overwhelmed. I told myself these things happen in long-term relationships. We would get through it. Then came the day my best friend David called me. David and I had been friends since college, and he worked downtown in a law firm not far from Amanda's office. "John, I saw something today that I think you should know about," he said, his voice serious in a way that made my stomach knot immediately. "What is it?" I asked, already dreading his answer. "I saw Amanda having lunch with some guy at Rossini's. They looked pretty friendly. He was tall, dark hair, expensive suit. They were holding hands across the table at one point." My immediate reaction was denial. That is ridiculous. She is allowed to have lunch with colleagues, David. It was probably just a work thing. Maybe David conceded, but I could hear the doubt in his voice. But most work lunches do not involve hand-holding and whispering in each other's ears. "I am just telling you what I saw, man. As your friend." We ended up arguing. I accused him of jumping to conclusions, of trying to create problems in my relationship. David eventually backed off, but his parting words stuck with me. "Just keep your eyes open, John. Something does not feel right." After that call, I tried even harder to convince myself everything was normal. But David's words had planted a seed of doubt that I could not shake. I started noticing more things: the faint smell of unfamiliar cologne on Amanda's clothes, the way she would step out of the room to take certain phone calls, how she had changed her phone password recently. Still, I wanted to believe in us. I decided to organize a special romantic evening to reconnect. I left work early one Friday to prepare. I cleaned the apartment thoroughly. Bought her favorite flowers, white lilies. Picked up an expensive bottle of Pinot Noir. She loved and spent hours cooking her favorite meal, pan-seared salmon, with roasted vegetables and truffle, risotto. I set the table with our best dishes, lit candles, and even created a playlist of songs that were meaningful to us. Everything was perfect. All I needed was Amanda. She came home 2 hours later than she had promised. By then the salmon was cold, the candles had burned low, and I had already finished half the wine by myself. "Oh, I totally forgot we were doing something special tonight," she said when she saw the table. "I already ate with some colleagues." Long strategy session. "You should have reminded me." The casual way she dismissed the effort I had put into the evening stung more than I wanted to admit. As she headed for the shower, I sat at the table alone, staring at the cold, uneaten food. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. I had never been the type to snoop through her messages, but something inside me snapped. I picked up her phone. The screen showed a text from someone saved simply as, "T. Miss you already. Lunch was too short. Can't wait for tomorrow." With trembling fingers, I opened her phone. The passcode did not work. She had changed it again, but the message preview was enough to confirm my worst fears. Trevor was not just a colleague. That night I lay awake beside Amanda, listening to her breathing, feeling miles away from the woman I thought I would spend my life with. Sleep eluded me as questions raced through my mind. How long had this been going on? Was it serious? Did she ever really love me? What about our future, our plans, our dreams? By morning, I knew what I needed to do. I texted my boss that I needed a personal day, waited until Amanda left for work, then followed her from a distance. I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. I never thought I would become the kind of person who follows their fiancé to catch them cheating. Yet there I was sitting in my car a block away from our apartment, waiting for Amanda to emerge. When she did, she looked just as beautiful as the day I met her. She wore her favorite blue dress, the one I had complimented countless times, and had styled her hair in loose waves. She looked like she was going somewhere special, not just another day at the office. I kept a safe distance as I followed her car through the morning traffic. To my surprise, she did not drive toward her office downtown. Instead, she headed to the Gold Coast area and parked near an upscale restaurant called Maison. This was a place we had talked about trying for a special occasion, the kind of establishment where lunch for two could easily cost a couple $100. My heart sank as I found a parking spot with a clear view of the restaurant entrance. Part of me wanted to drive away to preserve some last shred of doubt that might let me believe in us again, but I stayed knuckles white on the steering wheel. 20 minutes later, a sleek black Audi pulled up to the valet stand. The man who stepped out matched David's description: perfectly tall, dark hair, wearing a tailored suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Even from a distance, I could see his confident stride and perfect smile as he handed his keys to the valet. This had to be Trevor. He checked his watch, then scanned the area. When he spotted Amanda approaching, his face lit up. They embraced in a way that was definitely not appropriate for coworkers. Then, right there on the sidewalk, he kissed her. Not a friendly peck, but a passionate kiss that made it painfully clear what was happening. Through the large restaurant windows, I watched them being seated at a corner table. Trevor pulled out her chair, his hand lingering on her shoulder longer than necessary. They ordered champagne. They held hands across the table. At one point, he leaned over to whisper something that made her laugh and blush. It was intimate, romantic, and utterly devastating to witness. The physical pain I felt was unlike anything I had experienced before. My chest constricted so tightly I struggled to breathe. My vision blurred with tears. I refused to let fall. I felt nauseous, dizzy, like the world was tilting off its axis. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel as if it could somehow anchor me to reality. The life I thought we were building together, the future I had imagined, all of it crumbled around me in an instant. 3 years of memories flashed through my mind, now tainted with doubt and betrayal. What hurt most was not just the cheating, but the elaborate deception. The lies. The moments she had texted working late when she was probably with him. The holidays, birthdays, and anniversaries we had celebrated while she was leading this double life. The ring on her finger that represented a promise she clearly did not value. After nearly 30 minutes of watching their intimate lunch, something inside me hardened. The initial shock and pain crystallized into something else: resolve. I deserved better than this. I deserved honesty. I deserved a partner who truly loved me. With this new clarity, I got out of my car, straightened my jacket, and walked toward Maison. The host greeted me with a polite smile. "Table for one, sir." "Actually, I see someone I know," I replied, nodding toward the corner where Amanda and Trevor sat completely oblivious to my presence. I approached their table calmly, almost detached, as if I were watching myself in a movie. The moment Amanda saw me, her face drained of color. The champagne glass in her hand froze midway to her lips. Trevor looked up, confusion evident in his expression. Jonathon, Amanda gasped. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "But I think the answer is pretty clear." Trevor looked between us. "Amanda, who is this?" "This is," she stammered. "This is I am her fiancé. I finished for her. Or at least I was." The shock on Trevor's face told me everything I needed to know. He had no idea Amanda was engaged. She had been lying to both of us. "Fiancé," Trevor repeated, looking at Amanda's hand where she had conveniently turned my ring around to hide the diamond. "You told me you were single." "It is not what you think," Amanda said, desperately looking from Trevor to me. "I can explain everything." I reached into my pocket and placed my apartment keys on the table. The sound they made against the fine china seemed to echo in the now quiet restaurant section. "No need. Your things should be gone by tonight." I turned to leave, then paused to add, "And I will be wanting the ring back." I walked out without looking back, despite Amanda calling my name repeatedly. Outside, I took my first full breath in what felt like hours. My phone started buzzing in my pocket. Amanda calling. I silenced it. In my car, the full weight of what had just happened crashed over me. I broke down completely, sobbing uncontrollably, with my forehead pressed against the steering wheel. Patrons entering the restaurant gave my car concerned glances as they passed. After what might have been minutes or hours, I composed myself enough to drive. I called the one person I knew would understand. "David, you were right," I said when he answered. "Can I come over?" "Of course, man. I will be waiting." David lived in a loft apartment in Wicker Park. When I arrived, he took one look at my face and pulled me into a tight hug. No questions, no "I told you so," just the silent support of a true friend. That night, David listened as I recounted everything. He poured whiskey, ordered pizza, and let me vent my anger, pain, and confusion. The alcohol numbed the worst of the pain, but I knew the real struggle would begin with sobriety. "What are you going to do now?" David asked as we sat on his balcony, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. "I do not know," I admitted. "But I know I cannot go back to her. Not after this." My phone had been buzzing all evening with calls and texts from Amanda. I had ignored them all. Some begged for forgiveness. Others made excuses. None of it mattered anymore. "You can stay here as long as you need," David offered. I nodded gratefully, too exhausted to speak anymore. That night, lying on David's sofa, I made a decision. I would not let this break me. Somehow I would find a way to rebuild my life without Amanda. The how of it would come later. For now, I just needed to survive the pain. Morning brought clarity through the fog of a hangover. I needed to face Amanda and end things properly. I needed to reclaim my space, my life, and my dignity. After 2 days of hiding out at David's place, gathering my strength and sorting through my thoughts, I was ready to return to my apartment and face whatever waited for me there. The apartment was quiet when I arrived. For a moment, I hoped Amanda had already moved out, sparing us both the painful conversation that needed to happen. But as I stepped further inside, I heard movement in the bedroom, followed by Amanda appearing in the doorway. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. "Jonathon," she said, her voice breaking. "You came back." "I came back to my apartment," I clarified. "Not to you." I scanned the living room, noting that nothing seemed to be packed or moved. All her decorative touches remained exactly where they had been. The framed photos of us still sat on the bookshelf. Her collection of novels still occupied the bottom two shelves. Her favorite blanket was still draped across the armchair. "You have not packed," I observed. Amanda took a hesitant step toward me. "I thought maybe we could talk first." "There is nothing to talk about. I saw everything I needed to see. It was a mistake, John," she pleaded. "A terrible, stupid mistake. Trevor meant nothing to me." How long, I asked the question that had been burning inside me for days. She looked away. "A few months." Since before or after I proposed, her silence answered for her. "So you said yes to my proposal while you were already seeing him." The betrayal cut even deeper. "Were you ever going to tell me, or were you just stringing me along until you decided which one of us you wanted?" "It is not like that," Amanda said, tears streaming down her face. "I love you, John. I always have. Trevor was just, I do not know, a distraction. Something new and exciting before I settled down." Her words hit me like physical blows. A distraction before settling for me. The implications were crystal clear. "You wanted one last fling before marriage." I translated coldly. "And you did not care who got hurt in the process." "Please," she sobbed, moving toward me again. "I made a horrible mistake. I know that now. Trevor broke things off after you left the restaurant. He said he did not want to be with someone who would lie about being engaged. So Trevor had more integrity than my fiancée. The irony might have made me laugh if I was not so hurt." "Good for him," I said. "At least he has standards." "John, please. I love you. We can fix this. I will do anything. Counseling, whatever you want. We have 3 years together. That has to mean something." For a brief moment, seeing her tears and hearing her beg, I felt my resolve waver. We did have history. Good memories. Plans and dreams we had built together. But then I remembered the image of her kissing Trevor outside the restaurant, the intimate way they had held hands across the table, all while I wore it home, trusting and oblivious. "I need the ring back," I said firmly. "And I need you to move out. Today." Amanda's expression changed from pleading to shock. "You cannot be serious." "I am completely serious. You have until tonight to pack your things and leave." "This is my home too," she protested. "No, it is not. The lease is in my name. I bought this place before we met. You have contributed nothing to the mortgage. Legally, you have no claim here. But all my stuff is here. I cannot just leave in one day. You should have thought of that before you cheated." My voice remained calm, which seemed to unsettle her more than if I had shouted. "You can take whatever belongs to you. The rest stays." Amanda stared at me, her shock giving way to anger. "I never thought you could be so cold. And I never thought you could be so deceitful. I guess we were both wrong about each other." She tried another approach, stepping closer and placing her hand on my arm. "John, please. Trevor dumped me when he found out about you. He wants nothing to do with me now. I made a terrible mistake, but I know you are the one I want. The one I have always wanted." I removed her hand from my arm. "So, I am your second choice. Your backup plan. That is supposed to make me feel better." "No, that is not what I meant," she backpedaled. "I think it is exactly what you meant. You wanted Trevor, but now that he does not want you, you are willing to settle for me. Again." "John, please," she begged. "The ring," I said, holding out my hand. With trembling fingers, Amanda removed the 2-carat diamond ring from her finger and placed it in my palm. It felt heavier than I remembered. 24 hours, I reminded her. "I will be staying with David until tomorrow. When I come back, you and your things need to be gone." "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, tears falling again. "That is not my problem anymore." I turned and walked toward the door, her sobs following me. As I reached for the handle, she called out one last time. I really do love you, John. I always have. I paused, not looking back. If this is your idea of love, I would hate to see your version of hatred. With that, I left the door, closing firmly behind me. The weight on my shoulders felt a little lighter. The ring in my pocket represented not just the money I could reclaim but also the future I had narrowly escaped. A future with someone who did not truly value me or our relationship. True to my word, I returned the next day. Amanda was gone along with most of her possessions. She had left her key on the kitchen counter alongside a handwritten letter I did not bother to read before throwing it away. Whatever excuses or explanations it contained would not change what had happened or how I felt. Over the next few weeks, I focused on reclaiming my space and my life. I sold the engagement ring back to the jeweler at a loss, but the money still gave me enough for something I had always wanted to do: a solo trip to Alaska. I spent 2 weeks hiking, fishing, and photographing some of the most beautiful landscapes I had ever seen. The vastness of the wilderness put my problems into perspective. My heart began to heal among the mountains and glaciers. When I returned to Chicago, I enrolled in cooking classes, something I had always been interested in, but never pursued seriously. The structured environment and creative outlet gave me something positive to focus on. I also joined a rock climbing club where I met new people who knew nothing about my past relationship drama. The physical exertion of climbing helped channel my lingering anger and frustration into something productive. 6 months passed. I had settled into a new routine. My apartment no longer reminded me of Amanda at every turn. I had redecorated, rearranged furniture, and reclaimed the space as entirely my own. My job was going well, with a promotion that kept me busy and engaged. Life was good again, or at least getting there. Then, on a random Tuesday evening, I saw her. I was leaving my favorite coffee shop when Amanda walked in. She looked different somehow. Less confident, perhaps. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Jonathon," she said softly. "How are you?" "I am good," I replied honestly. "Really good, actually." "You look it," she said with a sad smile. "I am glad." An awkward silence fell between us. The anger I had expected to feel upon seeing her again never materialized. Instead, I felt a strange mixture of indifference and mild curiosity. "How about you?" I asked politely. "I am okay," she shrugged. "Getting by. I moved to a new apartment in Bucktown. Started a new job too. That is good." Another pause. "Trevor and I tried again after you and I." "Well, she admitted. It lasted about a month before he moved on to someone else. Turns out he has a pattern of going after women who are already in relationships. I was just another conquest." I nodded, unsurprised. "I am sorry to hear that." "No. I deserved it," she said, looking down at her hands. "I lost the best thing in my life for someone who never really cared about me." I realized too late what I had thrown away. I could see she was fishing for a response. Perhaps even a reconciliation. 6 months ago, I might have been tempted. Now I felt nothing but a peaceful certainty that we were better off apart. "I should go," I said. "It was good seeing you, Amanda." "Wait," she said quickly. "Do you think maybe sometime we could get coffee? Talk about things. Maybe see if there is anything still there between us." I looked at her. This woman I had once planned to spend my life with, and felt only compassion for someone who had not prodded, yet learned what I had: that self-respect was more valuable than any relationship. "I am sorry, but no," I said kindly. "What happened between us broke something that cannot be fixed. I have forgiven you for my own sake more than yours, but I cannot forget." "I understand," she said, though her eyes said otherwise. "I hope you find what you are looking for, Amanda. I really do. But it will not be with me." As I walked away, I realized I meant every word. The pain she had caused had ultimately led me to a better understanding of myself and what I deserved in a relationship. In a strange way, her betrayal had been a gift, forcing me to become stronger and more self-aware than I might have been otherwise. That night, sitting on my balcony watching the Chicago skyline, I reflected on everything that had happened. The engagement that ended in betrayal. The ring that returned to my hand. The heartbreak that eventually led to healing. I had survived something I once thought would destroy me and emerged not just intact but improved. Sometimes the most painful endings create the space necessary for better beginnings. I did not know what my future held, but for the first time in a long time I was excited to find out. The ring returning to its owner was not a failure after all, but the start of a journey toward authentic freedom and self-discovery. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that ultimately led to positive changes in your life? Leave a comment below and share your story. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming life's challenges. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message of resilience and self-worth, share this video with them. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, sometimes the things we think are breaking us are actually making us stronger.